So where do you want to start?
Yeah, well, you want to talk some play or risky play? And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Shall I read to you part of it's just on page 12 that you wrote that I just absolutely love.
yeah.
You wrote, good old-fashioned free play has been limited, sidelined, sublimated, and even decimated for way too many children in our busy, high-achieving, overstimulated, overscheduled, overprotected, overly biased, overly adult-oriented view of what children should be doing, accomplishing, competing, and completing. I just love that because I just think you can't overdo it when you're trying
That's
to make
right.
that point.
Boom.
Yeah, you really hit it.
I remember when that one was streaming out. It was just like our world, our children. Oh,
I
yeah,
know, I
yeah.
know. Your kids are lucky to have you. I mean, there's just, I just hear so many sad stories. It breaks my heart. I mean, the
Hmm.
way children are missing out on childhood these days. So, and yesterday,
Hmm.
last night I was watching one of those shows on HGTV, and, the realtors got the couple looking at houses, and one house didn't have quite the open concept that the mom wanted, and she said, if I can't see my kids all the time to know what they're doing, it's just not going to work. And I thought, what does it feel like to be watched all the time? I
Hmm.
mean, we played in the basement. Nobody knew what the heck we were doing down there.
Hmm. Hmm.
We ran free, of course, outside. It's just, and I hear it's not just last night that I hear it over and over and over and over again. I mean,
Yeah.
I even hear, Rusty, that they don't want to buy houses with inside stairs because it's too dangerous for the
Oh,
children.
geez. Yeah,
And I think,
yeah.
a lot of us grew up with stairs and lived to tell the tale.
That's right. You can't protect them from stairs forever.
I
They're
know.
gonna come in contact with stairs.
And what if we
Yeah,
did? What
yeah,
if we did? What if we protected them from stairs forever, and suddenly they were in the school building, like they got to middle school for the
yeah.
first time, had to deal with stairs.
Stairs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And that's just a little teeny example of the way we're protecting them and thinking that these skills are just going to appear because their bodies get larger,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, 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 yeah. And the stairs is just kind of a great metaphor too, of just like we're protecting them from all the little steps in life, like
Yeah,
everything. Yeah,
yeah,
right. And
yeah.
ultimately, we want them to be able to take those steps, and it can be nerve wracking. I mean, literally back to the stairs. I remember having toddlers, my own toddlers. Kids when they're toddlers, and you're nervous about those stairs, but ultimately you want them to do it for themselves.
Yeah,
Steps, and then in everything in life, right? We're
yeah,
ultimately gearing kids to become themselves, to become adults, to be able to
yeah,
function in the world.
yeah, exactly. But the helicopter parenting goes on well past the time they go to college.
Hmm.
You know, that's
Hmm.
that's the frightening part. They're just getting to college without experience in risk taking and problem solving, decision making, and they're a mess.
Hmm.
They're really a
Hmm.
mess.
Hmm.
A teacher that I know, a middle school teacher, which I think they're among the bravest of souls.
Yeah, really.
I couldn't teach middle. They scare me. But she told me that she puts the papers down on their desks and they sit there and stare at her. They are absolutely afraid to take a step, to do anything without being given explicit instructions.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
that's not the kind of adults we want running the world, is it?
Yeah, no, 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 it's not. No, no, we want creative problem solvers and resilient people and people who take initiative and have new ideas and
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, think for themselves.
that would be nice, because
Yeah.
there's always going to be problems to solve. As long as there are human beings, there will be
Mm-hmm.
problems to
Mm-hmm.
solve.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
we definitely need somebody solving them. Yeah. So
Yeah.
what is your definition of risky play?
Yeah, it's funny because in some ways the definition really, and ultimately it's play, right? For kids, it's just play. And it might be more risky, the adult's perspective of it, or like what makes adults nervous of risky. And
Everything.
yeah, everything, right? And even with the stairs, I think it's that adults have just see the bad things that could happen, right? That's our kind of natural protective quality, built in, that we have. But ultimately, we want kids to be able to take those steps and to be able to do things for themselves and try for themselves and have the successes and also be able to learn from failures because that's what life's about too.
Yeah.
So, the risky stuff could be physical stuff of like balancing on a log. That's kind of my go-to of like, what's the most basic thing? Yes, you could fall, but you could also make your way across, and what a thrill that is, or to fall and then get up again. Or, and maybe most importantly, to look at a risk, something like that, and for a child to be like, no, I don't want to take this. I'm not ready to do this. I don't want to try. As opposed to just having the adult be the one who tells you to turn your paper over and fill it out, or tells you
Right.
that no, you shouldn't be on that log. Ultimately,
Right.
that's kind of our job as adults. I think when we can step back, then the child can step forward and learn to
Yeah.
make those decisions.
Yeah.
And
You know Lenore Scanesi's work, I'm sure.
sure,
Free
yeah,
range kids. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, listening to her, reading her work, reading your work and all of that. I spout all of this stuff, but I find that I have a knee-jerk reaction sometimes, like just seeing a child walking alone on the street. And I have to remember, what the statistics really tell us, that it's perfectly fine. You
Yeah.
know, the other day I'm in a townhouse, and even though I enter right from the street level, it's weird, there's a garden apartment below me. So my deck is kind of high. And the other day, there are two little girls who live across from me in the building across from me. So their deck is on the other side of the cherry blossom tree. And one of them was straddling the railing. And I was fighting with myself. Do I go out there and say, Jacqueline, what are you doing? Or, I mean, what if she fell? What if I shouldn't be cautioning her? It's even for those of us who are proponents of children taking risks and who know the statistics about, stranger danger and kidnapping and all of that. We're so immersed in fear in this society that I do have this knee-jerk reaction to, issue a caution. I thought, no, don't say be careful. Do not say be careful to Jacqueline, especially to a girl. You do not say be careful. So what
Yeah.
would your reaction have been if you saw her straddling the railing on a high deck?
Yeah, it's tough, right? Because we have that built-in protector in us, and we don't
Yes.
want anybody hurt, and it's all
No.
with good intentions. But I think for me, I definitely try to just, do this like 1,000, 2,000. Don't say anything and watch and kind of like defocus and like, okay, what is the situation? Like,
Yeah.
does she look like she knows what she's doing, or does she not look like she doesn't know what she's doing or is wobbly?
Yeah.
And then start to make your adult decision on what you're going to do. Ultimately we want kids to be able to do it for themselves, and when we take that step back, I think more often than not we realize kids are capable. You gotta watch out for toddlers. They'll try anything,
Of course. Yeah.
but older kids, often they know what they're doing. Even like with a stick, they're running with a stick. You could think, oh, they're poking their eye out. It's a weapon. But if we just be quiet for just a few moments, you're like, oh, they're just bringing a stick over as a wand. It's a magic wand, or they're going to stir some sort of magic concoction in a bucket.
Right.
It's
Right.
okay.
Right.
It's okay. And but
Somebody on
yeah.
somebody on Facebook posed that question to a group last week. She was in favor of children and sticks, but her coworkers were not, and she was asking for advice, you know, and one of my, and I don't remember, it might have been Nancy Carlson Page when we were talking about play once. I don't remember who said it, but one of my favorite questions to ask a child with a stick is, what are your plans for that stick? You know,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
they have to think about it and they have to verbalize it, and, you know, so much better than put that down, you might
Yeah.
hurt yourself.
Yeah. We don't play with sticks. I was working
Right.
with the school here in town, and they had like a no stick rule. Don't pick anything off the ground.
Oh gosh. Well, I mean, look at the schools that have banned running,
Mm-hmm.
tag,
Mm-hmm.
cartwheels. There was one, and I think it was Lenore who told this story, a school that banned cartwheels, not because there'd been any incidents, but because there might be.
There could
And,
be. Yeah.
you know, we're not protecting the children, we're protecting the adults from the potential lawsuits, and it just ticks me off. It
Yeah.
really,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
we're
It's
not
become
prioritizing the children.
fear-based, worst case scenario, and even like bottom
Worst
line,
thinking, right? Worst
yeah,
first
worst
thinking.
first thinking, worst. So we need to, okay, it's good to think things through and don't be blind to the negative things that could happen. And we want to clear all environments full of like dangerous hazards. But we also want to interject first, best first thinking, right? First, think of some positive things. Think of the risks of a situation, but what are also the benefits of things? What are the positive things that could happen with that stick, with that cartwheel, with playing tag, with all that stuff of like, and that I feel so much is like, it's us as adults taking these deep breaths, stepping back, remembering our childhood, imagining what our grandparents' childhoods were like. That we're all kids, we're all human, we're all like, you know, making our way in the world, and we can do it, and kids are capable. And
Yes. So when I think of my childhood, I think of learning to do cartwheels down the middle of the road. There was a neighborhood girl, an older one, who taught me, and the road was the only place to learn them. I mean, of course, we weren't in heavy traffic,
Sure.
but that, the length of time it took me to learn and that sense of accomplishment was really that, because I persisted and I persisted, and then it felt amazing when I finally learned them. And I even got to do the one-handed cartwheel eventually.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
I do remember climbing a tree across from a neighbor's house and being afraid of heights, not being able to get back down. So I learned not to do that again because she yelled at me. She yelled at me because I was stuck in the tree and couldn't back down. But the biggest one actually involved stairs. It was the front steps of the house. It was a two-family house, and you know, you walk up the concrete or cement or whatever they were stairs, and there were railings, I guess, this wide up the sides, made of the same material, and then they platformed off. And I stood on, you'd have to climb up on there, and then down, way down below, was this little patio area. I don't know what it was, but it was quite the jump. And we used to dare each other. You know, I would go up the stairs, climb up on that railing platform thing, and then jump all the way down. And I was afraid of heights, but I would do it, you know, just to prove I could. And it's really, it still serves me well to know that I was daring as a kid, you know, that I was kind of bold. I mean, I remember chasing Jimmy Moshe up the road with a snake in my hand. That was fun.
Okay, we're learning some stuff here. So the puzzles coming together, pieces are coming together.
But you know, my mom was very fear-based. She was terrified of water, so I never did learn how to swim, and I'm afraid of water now. So, you know, if it's over my head, I'm not going in. So, you know, I did learn to be afraid as I grew up and had less confidence, probably based on many of my mother's fears, but knowing that there was that child in me who took those risks. You know, could be
you had both those, yeah.
Yeah. It really helps,
Yeah.
to remember that. Think, hey, she's still in there somewhere.
Yeah, that spunky girl's in there. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think now I have that too, where my dad was a little bit more protective or a
Mhm.
worrier,
Yeah.
but I would think I was fairly adventurous, but at the same time, I felt like I was pretty balanced. Like I wasn't doing crazy things. I never got really badly hurt with anything. I
Mhm.
remember I loved climbing trees, but I also remember like when you're definitely you know that your life is in your hands. Like when you get up to a certain height, you want to make sure all those branches are there. And while there's fun and it's exhilarating, at the same time it's also a little nerve-wracking.
Oh yeah.
But the kids are attracted to that. Like there is something about like literally their lives in their own hands, or their
Mhm.
freedom in their own hands, and
Yes,
to be able
yes.
to do that. It was funny though, because growing up, I had fields behind my house, and I did lots of tree climbing and exploring. But there were also, my dad always talked about barbed wire. Like I had to watch out for barbed wire, and maybe between like different farmers' fields and things, you'd see barbed wire. But so I grew up kind of thinking like barbed wire could like reach out and jump out and get you. Like it could bite you. Watch out for barbed wire. So I'm always still a little nervous when I see that.
They
It
see
never
they
got, yeah.
they instill their fears in us.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
they look. Children look to adults of like, how does the adult feel about this? Whether it's on the stairs, climbing a tree, in the woods and water,
My
all
mother
that.
never saw me do those stairs.
No, I bet, I
Never saw
bet.
me do that jump.
Yeah,
So if I'd had, or parent like today's parents think they have to be watching their children 24/7,
right,
I
right.
would not have done that. I mean, I would not have been free to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I like my mom, but I wouldn't have
Mm-hmm.
wanted her with me all the time. I can't quite imagine that. I
Yeah.
did some, I don't know, I suppose the most reckless thing we did. Do you remember maybe you don't, I'm old, those mosquitoes machines that sprayed the
Oh, I've heard about the yes, yeah.
sprayed all that noxious toxic chemicals into the air. My brothers and I and whoever the neighborhood kids were, we would run to this field that was a little low lying, and we would run to the field and lie down, and that cloud of crap would float over our heads. And I think about that now. I think, oh my God, you are so lucky you don't have
Breathing
cancer
in
from that.
DDT and Agent Orange.
Sure,
Oh,
sure. So that might
yeah.
not have been the wisest
Yeah,
thing
we
to have.
have improved in some things, health and safety wise.
Yeah.
Yes, as time's gone on, but
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that freedom for children to find who they are themselves and what they feel comfortable doing and what they feel comfortable
Learn
not
from their
doing. And
mistakes.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and adults, yeah, how we butt in so much and kind of
Yeah.
steer play the way we think it should be, and even well intentioned, and then that,
Of course.
yeah, and the
Yeah.
be careful thing. I did something like that this summer. I'm sorry to say, my son was like balancing the little guy, 5-year-old, on a rock in the creek, and I said something like, "Watch out, it's slippery," or "Be careful." And of
Mhm.
course, he was being careful, right? He was concentrating, and as soon as he hears my voice, breaks his concentration, and
Good
in the
point.
water he went, and
Oh,
yeah, he was totally okay, but it was definitely just one of those moments of like a knee-jerk reaction from the adult, but it
yeah.
messes him up. It messed him up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Well, I was reading, your book and the play manifesto in the beginning, and I had the same reaction that I have when I'm always having to defend movement in children's lives. You just get so tired of having to defend it and prove what they're learning from it, and what the research says. And I don't know, do you have any theories on how we got so crazy, how we got so far from how things were in our childhood?
That's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, I think it's not like a big grandmaster plan. It's just
No,
like these little things that probably were all well intentioned, and extracurricular activities, or schools don't want kids hurt, but then you mix it in with 24-hour news cycles and fear-based thinking, or the one kid that's abducted on the milk carton thing. And of course, it just makes parents want to hold their babies tighter and not want anything to happen. So it's like all these kind of things just started closing in until now. I mean, pre-COVID anyway, everything's a little bit shook up, and maybe some things will settle in the direction that we're hoping for. More outdoor play and more freedom, and parents being like, play. Parents need a break, so just, go play.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's that combo. And but now the pendulum, I think, has felt like it's swung so far that when you can't run at school or play tag at school or any of that kind of stuff, it's like, wait, it's time to reconsider some of this stuff. Right?
I hope so. Yeah, when the pendulum gets so far, it has to come back the other way. That's and if parents could see the value of play as a result of COVID, that would be one bright light, in all of this. See how much their children are learning just from playing and making their own decisions and I don't know. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah. And parents seeing that, some of this time and not having so many structured activities and, and every family's different, every circumstance is different. So what might be opening for some could be, tougher on some families. Yeah. But I mean, for me, and that getting that pendulum to swing back, that was part of the impetus to write this book and put it out there and just give a lot of food for thought for people to, to think back to their own childhoods, think about the beauty of play, and to have tons of pictures of just like stuff that at first might be like, what? There's kids with fire, there's kids with water, there's kids with photos. And also then you realize it's normal. All that stuff is just kids doing normal stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. In cultures all around the world. Yeah. So Bev Boss used the phrase childhood amnesia, right? We forget. Yeah. We forget what it was like to be a child. And just wasn't that many years ago, but well, it was for me. But I don't know. It seems like it's something that's hard to hold on to, those unless somebody really asks you to close your eyes and remember.
What was it? And then when they do, I know when you do that and I do that in presentations and things, when the audience opens their eyes again, they look different. There's that sparkle in their eye, and then all this stuff is like, oh yeah, we used to roam around, we used to play, we used to be by the railroad tracks, we used to go in a creek, we used to do all this stuff, and it wasn't like big playground equipment, expensive stuff. It was, maybe the streets, sidewalks in front of their house, small backyard. They
have sanitized sand.
That's right. Yeah. It's like health and safety, good intentions, but now we need to like step back. The new good intentions are, let's step back, take some deep breaths, and think of the children as heroes. Our job is like supporting around the outside edges, but ultimately to support them go up those stairs of life to be able to grow and become the best, the best that they can be and be their great selves.
Yep, exactly.
Do it. Yeah. Well, Rae, so nice to see your smiling face and chat with you about this stuff.
Same here, Rusty.
Yeah.
It's always, fun to speak with a kindred spirit.
Yeah, definitely.